we want to sort of start off from roughly where we were last time. And the last thing really that we talked about was what happens if you can't borrow or save very effectively. And I was suggesting that it makes your ability to smooth consumption much less effective. It's no surprise there. You essentially, if the instrument for smoothing is saving, then if you can't save, then you can't, or if you can't borrow, then it's much harder to smooth. It's your consumption. And we saw an example where despite the fact that people were actually saving up to 80% of their marginal income over and above a cutoff, they have occasional but very serious consumption crises. They basically, something happens and then their consumption drops by 40%. So and 40% is when you are middle class, maybe it's cutting back on the luxuries. 40% when you are really poor means you are really getting into the starvation range. So it's 40% is very serious. One of the things that when you ask people questions which basically pick up depression of some kind, one of the things that which correlates strongly with measures of depression is answer to the question, did a child in your family miss a meal in the previous week? So it's something that has direct welfare measure. It's something that if your child missed a meal in the previous week, that's something that people is very salient in people's lives. They'll tell you, and it's very strongly correlates with being depressed. So it's not it's something that when we're talking about consumption risk for the very poor, this is something that's very, very salient for them. It's not, oh, this week we didn't manage to go out to eat or something. It's something extremely salient. So that all of that's just to say that we would like to get into the question, therefore, of how do people better smooth consumption. And there are more things than savings and borrowing that you can do. And the most important thing you can do for most people who don't, as I'll talk about this later, who don't actually have access to like formal insurance, is insurance through mutual help. So it's a very, in a sense, a very obvious and natural idea, but one that nonetheless deserves study, which is what happens. Are there ways in which the fact that when my income goes down, maybe my friend's income does not, does that help us in some way? So that's the kind of the question we'll spend some time on today, is how good are we smoothing through getting help from others. So let's take this very, very simple example. I just want to, so there are two farmers. Their incomes can each be, they have independent incomes. Independent means my income is, the probability that my income is high is uncorrelated with the probability that anyone else's income is high. But the incomes can vary. So my income can be high and my friends can be low, or the other way around. So, or we both can be high or we both can be low. So they're not perfectly negatively correlated. That would be another possibility, is they're perfectly negatively correlated. When mine is high, my friends is low, and vice versa. They each maximize expected utility. This is sort of standard. You've seen this already. They want to have the highest possible expected utility, and they're risk averse. So it matters to them whether they get the average of these two numbers is 1500. They would be happier to get 1500 for sure than get 1000 sometimes and 2000 sometimes. That's what it means to be risk averse. Okay, do you see what we are setting up for? It's exactly this question of mutual insurance. And then just to simplify the problem, we're going to say that they don't have access to savings or credit. So if they could borrow, we already talked about borrowing and lending. We also talked about what happens if that's difficult to do. Let's rule that out and just look at this problem.